Alright, today we're going to be going over how I installed this diesel transfer tank in the bed of my truck. These tanks are not only convenient to have at the job site, but they also save you money in the long run. I'm going to go over how I tested the tank before I installed it and give you some tips and tricks that will hopefully help you through your installation process. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. So I heard of scenarios where guys purchase these transfer tanks brand new, put them in the bed of their truck, got everything hooked up and installed and filled it with diesel, just to find out that it leaked from the welds. That was a scenario that I did not want to experience. So what I decided to do was I put the tank down on this piece of cardboard, and the cardboard's a little damp now, but it wasn't, you know, the past few days. It was a nice dry piece of cardboard, no stains on it, and I put 5 gallons of diesel in the tank, and that was enough to, you know, fill the inside, the whole bottom, I would say, about an inch all the way across. And I let it sit on that piece of cardboard overnight. The next morning I came out, I slid the tank back, checked for any, you know, wet spots, oil marks, slid it forward, checked, and it was good. So then what I did was I took the whole tank and I turned it up on its side, so it was resting on this side. This side was down, you know, that side was up. And I couldn't have it flat because I didn't want it to spill out the vent there. So I had a block on this side, so it was on a little bit of an angle. But anyways, I let it sit like that for a few hours. You know, the diesel mark was almost to the fill cap. So that tested all the welds on this side, and then I did the same thing over there. And that told me, you know, it wasn't leaking. I know when it's full, there'll be a little bit more pressure in the tank, but at least it gave me a little bit of a peace of mind that I was good to install it in the truck. So I'm going to continue with that. Now that I know that the tank doesn't leak, I'm going to go ahead and mark these holes. I already did that. You can see took a little paint marker. Got the ones in the back. These are going to be a little tricky. I'm going to have to slide it out to drill the holes and then slide it back. When it goes to get a wrench in there to tighten the bolts, we'll have to get creative with it. But I wanted to go all the way back, but I couldn't because I have this lip, and I could have taken this part off, but those bolts that are in the middle down there are a real pain to get to. So I'm going to sacrifice, I don't know, about 2 inches of space, 3 inches maybe. It's not the end of the world. I figured once the pump's up there, I could probably just tuck the hose in around the back so it's not all coiled up here in the front. So it's not that big of a deal. Let's get started. After I marked the holes, I went ahead and slid the tank out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and drill these 4 holes. You wanna make sure that you're not gonna hit anything underneath the truck. So you wanna measure off something. What I did was I measured off of that corner there, and I made sure I wasn't gonna hit a pipe, you know, a hose or the tank or something like that. So you just wanna make sure you got good clearance. You want to make sure you have a good bit. This is a Cobalt bit. Anytime you drill through metal, it always helps to have a good bit. If this metal was a little thicker, I'd use some cutting oil, but it's pretty thin, so the bit by itself it'll suffice. I reamed the hole out a little bit just to give me a little wiggle room, just in case they're not 100% perfect. I went ahead and threw some paint on all 4 of these holes. It'll help, you know, it not rust as quick. And I also put this rubber mat down. It's not very thick. It's probably like 1/8 of an inch. I've seen guys use stall mats, which are real thick, but I think this will be good enough. And this is what I had laying around, so that's what I'm using. I'm gonna move the tank back in place and get it bolted down. They want you to use these big rubber spacers. My guess is so there's a little bit of flex in the tank. You know, if it moves back and forth, so it's not so rigid. You know, with all the diesel in there, and you come to a stop and it goes forward and it comes back. There is baffle plates in there, but there's still going to be some movement. So I'm pretty sure that's the reason they want these rubber spacers in there. Now the back ones, being that it's so close, it's a little tricky. What I did was I just wrapped a piece of tape around it. I'm using this magnet here. Alright, then I just gotta spin it. Yep, there we go. It's in. That one's done. It's gonna be fun getting a wrench in there. But I didn't want to scoot it out any further. Like I said, I really wanted it all the way against here, but that would have been a real pain. So I'm gonna make do with that. So there you can see one of the bolts coming through. Go ahead and try to get this washer. There we go. I don't have a wrench on it up top. I just wanted to get that in there. So let's start it. This is definitely the hardest part about this installation, doing by yourself. You see there, I had to get my wrench set up. I'm gonna go underneath and try to tighten it up. We'll see how it goes. Well, that worked pretty well. That got tight. See if I can get just as lucky on the other side. Gonna need my magnet again to get this wrench on those back bolts. Let's see how it goes. What I did was I put this magnet on top to try to hold it on the bolt head. We'll see. Man, I can't believe I got lucky on both of those. Worked like a charm. So that's it. It's all bolted in. So I'm ready to get this pump installed. This is the pump I went with. This is the premium model. You can see it here. It gives you the auto shut off nozzle, which I think you kind of have to put on. They have the economy version, which doesn't shut off. You have to watch it, otherwise it could overfill. I also got this filter. This it blocks water and you know, filters out any type of debris. I will point out one thing that I made a mistake on. If you look here, there where it says 3/4 flow, I didn't notice. I wasn't really paying attention to this. I saw 3/4 flow. I said, oh, this pump is 3/4, it's going to fit. But it turns out that this is 1 inch and the 3/4 is the filter thread. So instead of returning it, I just bought the adapters from Home Depot, you know, to go from 1 inch down to 3/4. I also got this swivel. Should make it a little easier to wind the hose up. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it on the handle side or the pump side. I'll see once I start getting it together. You also need your Teflon tape here. Make sure the one you get, it's for gas and kerosene. It says right on there what it's for. Big old monkey wrench, and we're ready to get started. So this is part of the union. Goes right in that fill spot, and the pump will connect to that. You want to make sure you put the tape on counterclockwise. That way it doesn't come off as you're threading it in. And you hold it with your thumb and just go around. Go around about 4 times is plenty. I'm not sure how far this is going to actually thread in, so that's why I'm covering all the threads. There you go. You want to make sure you get all the threads covered. Now, I'm not going to go too tight on this because this is aluminum and this adapter is also aluminum. The last thing I want to do is strip anything. How it feels. It's almost down to the bottom of the threads. That's pretty tight. I'm stopping there. Now, there's a gasket that's going to sit right on top of here, and then a pump goes on top. So, you also want to get this pickup tube, some tape on it. This gets threaded into the bottom of the pump. And this one's telescopic, so when I just put it in there, I'm going to have it fully extended. You can see it's basically going to need to be almost fully extended anyway. We'll get this threaded in here. Being that this is plastic, I'm not going to put any wrench on it. Hand tight's plenty good. So, then we got our gasket here. It's fully extended. go, that just takes a second to get lined up. That's not so bad. Alright, that's pretty tight. So this is what I have so far. I'll just be honest, I'm not a huge fan of all the pieces, but I don't think I really had much of an option. I needed enough clearance to be able to, get this filter in and out. And with this being a service body, I don't have the room on the side. I think normally the pump would be this way, and your filter, you could just have a small nipple. This would go right in, then your hose to that. It'd be a lot less connections, but it should be fine. I guess time will tell. Here's the filter, and just like any filter, it's a good idea to put a little bit of oil on the gasket. I always do both sides. Probably don't have to do both sides, but I do. There we go. That's tight. Now it's time to wrestle this hose. I don't think there's going to be too easy of a way. There we go. Get this a little tighter here. Again, none of this stuff I'm going too tight with because I don't want to break anything or strip anything. It wouldn't be that big of a deal to tighten it up after it's together. That's a lot more of a headache to deal with something that breaks. There we go, that's pretty tight. Let me think. Do I want to put the swivel on? Or don't I? Not 100% on it. The swivel, this will go on that side, be able to make it turn. Oh, what the heck, I bought it, so let me put it on. Yeah, I think it's a good move. And we'll get some more of our tape on this. probably get a smaller wrench, but this is what I have right here, so this is what I'm using. There we go, that's pretty tight. Yeah. I ran the electric down through the back. There's a little hole down there in the bottom. As you can see, I put this wire protector on it. I only did that from here down until where it gets to the frame. You can see it. And I zip tied it pretty often, and that's what you want to do. You want to make sure it's tight and it's not going to move around. Then obviously you want to make sure it's not near any moving parts or something that gets real hot, like the exhaust. My exhaust is on the other side. And I actually ran this that flex tubing that has my backup camera wire in it, so I already had a bit of a path to go. But yeah, it goes that way all the way up to the front, then sneaks up in front of the firewall and right to the battery. So for this part, you want to get yourself some wire strippers and some crimpers if you have them. I'll strip off about 3/4 of an inch of the wire, both sides, maybe closer to 1/2 inch. I have this little, you call it a butt connector, I think. Put it on there. And if you don't have crimpers, it's fine. You can get away with using like channel locks or something. You just want to make sure you get it real tight. The crimpers just put a better dent in it. Tight. Now me, being the particular person that I am, I'm going to tape it up as well. Help keep out some of the water and the corrosions. I have these butt connectors that have gel in it, but I look for them in the garage, and like anything else, when you need it, you can't find it. So I just used what they gave me. Alright, so there's that. Now we have positive and negative. First I wasn't going to use these either, but it turns out they're going to fit right on these bolts that are already there, so might as well go with it. You can see that puts a real nice crimp on there. There's no way that that's coming off. This one's a little long. I'm going to trim it. There we go. Those are real tight. Now I should just need a 7/16 wrench for those. Or maybe it's a 10. Let's see. Yeah, it's probably a 10. Well, as long as it's not too tight, this will work just fine. Let me make sure. Is this where I'm going to leave this wire? No, I'll probably bring it around this side. All right. All right, a couple more zip ties on here, and we'll be good to go. Again, with the wire, you want to make sure it's not going to get hung up on anything. That's a good idea, just to zip tie it to something, a wire that's, you know, already available, because if that wire is not getting pinched, well, there's a good chance that your wire is not going to get pinched either. I mean, this, maybe I shouldn't have did it across the battery, because now if I got to take the battery out, it's only a matter of cutting a couple zip ties. It's not no big deal. There's that. Don't mind my snips. My dikes are in the yard somewhere. I was working on something back there. Here we go. That's good. That's fine. I like it. They say it's good for my house. Here it is, the finished product. I threw a lock on here, not because I'm really worried about someone stealing any of my fuel, but I feel like it'll keep this handle from flopping out when I'm driving. To touch base on the saving money part that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So how that works is, where I'm located here in eastern Pennsylvania, the cost of diesel fluctuates from station to station by as much as 50 cents a gallon. So when you take that into consideration, my company, I go through about 4,000 gallons of fuel a year, roughly. Could be more, could be less. But you figure, let's just make math simple. Let's say I save 25 cents a gallon from going to the cheaper place all the time. 25 cents times 4,000 gallons, that's $1,000 a year. Well, this setup cost me about $1,100. So we say the first year it'll pay for itself. Every year after that, I'll be saving about $1,000, or it could be more. Now granted, I won't be able to utilize this tank every time I need to fill up, but that is going to be my goal. I mean, being that it holds 100 gallons, you know, when this starts getting low and my truck's low, I can go to the cheapest place around, and I'll fill the truck and the tank up. I'll be getting 120 gallons of fuel roughly at once, and, you know, saving anywhere from $25 to $50, you know, from that one stop. So it's definitely a good investment. and the convenience factor on the job, filling up the machines. Because these, my skid steer and my excavator, both of them have close to 30-gallon tanks. You know, you're putting in 5-10 gallons at a time. You know, that just takes forever. And that'll barely get you through a day. You know, you run the machine at a high RPM all day long, you're gonna burn through, you know, 15, maybe 20 gallons of fuel. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.